I'm 84 years old, and I finally understand why my children stopped calling me. For years, I told myself they were just busy. You know, with their own lives, their own jobs, their own families. It's what parents do. We make excuses for them. But the truth, the real truth, is something I've only been brave enough to look at now with what little time I have left. The phone sits on the table, silent, and it has been silent for a long, long time. And I know why. It's because I taught it to be silent. I'm an old man now, and I've written down a lot of my thoughts, the kinds of things you only realize when the world has gone quiet around you. If you'd like to read more of my stories, there's a link in the description where you can find my books. When I was a young man, a father, I believed my job was simple: to provide, to build a life for my family. I worked at a factory, long hours, 6 days a week. My hands were always rough, always stained with grease. I'd come home tired, smelling of metal and sweat. My wife, Martha, she understood. She would have a plate of food waiting for me, and the children, David and Sarah, would be getting ready for bed. I remember seeing them, small figures in their pajamas, peeking around the corner. Sometimes I'd manage a tired smile, a nod. Other times I just wanted to sit in my chair and not speak, not move. The weight of the world felt like it was on my shoulders, and I thought carrying that weight was the best way to love them. I thought providing was the same as being present. I wasn't a bad father. I didn't drink. I didn't yell. I just wasn't there, even when I was in the room. I remembered David. He must have been about 7. He came to me with a drawing he made at school. It was a picture of our family. A smiling mom, a smiling sister, and a smiling stick figure that was him. Next to them was a tall, gray box. He pointed at it and said, "That's you, Dad. You're at work." I ruffled his hair and said, "That's right, son. Daddy has to work so you can have a house and toys." I thought he would understand. I thought it was a good lesson. Duty. Responsibility. But now I see that drawing for what it was. It wasn't a drawing of a father. It was a drawing of a building. An empty one. Sarah was different. She was quiet. She just wanted me to watch her. She'd put on little shows in the living room, singing songs she'd learned. She'd look over at me, her eyes wide, hoping for a sign that I was paying attention. I'd be reading the newspaper or thinking about a problem at the factory. I'd hear the noise, but I wasn't really listening. I'd say, "That's nice, honey," without even looking up. I convinced myself that my presence in the house was enough, that my children knew I loved them because I came home every night. But a body in a chair is not a father. A paycheck is not a father. My heart was somewhere else. It was at the factory, with the machines, with the deadlines. As they got older, they stopped trying so much. David got into sports. He'd have big games on Saturdays. I'd always have a reason I couldn't go. "I have to work overtime," I'd say. "We need the money." And it was true, we often did. But I see now that I could have made a different choice. I could have gone to one game, just one. I could have seen his face when he scored a goal. But I chose the overtime. I chose the money. I told myself it was for him. But was it? Or was it for my own pride? My own sense of being a good provider? Sarah started spending more time in her room with her books. We stopped talking much at all. It didn't happen overnight. It was a slow fading, like a photograph left in the sun. I'd love to know if any of this feels familiar to you. Have you ever felt like you were there, but not really there for the people you love? Let me know in the comments. Reading your stories helps an old man feel a little less alone. Martha, she tried to tell me, in her gentle way. She'd say, "Robert, the children miss you." And I'd get defensive. "What are you talking about? I'm here, aren't I? I'm breaking my back for this family." I saw her words as criticism, not as a warning, not as a plea. I couldn't see past my own exhaustion, my own sense of sacrifice. I believed I was the hero of the story, the man working himself to the bone. I didn't realize I was becoming a ghost in my own home. The years went by. The children grew up. They went to college. They got jobs of their own. At first, they called. Every Sunday, David would talk about his classes. Sarah would talk about her new friends, but the conversations were thin. We talked about what they were doing, not how they were feeling. I never learned how to ask about their hearts. I only knew how to ask about their grades, their jobs, the practical things, the things a provider worries about. I didn't know how to be anything else. Then they got married. I walked Sarah down the aisle. She was beautiful, but as I stood there, I felt like a stranger, a guest at her wedding, not her father. When David's first child was born, my grandson, they called me from the hospital. I heard the baby crying in the background. I said, "Congratulations, son. I'm proud of you." But I didn't go. It was a long drive, and I was tired. I told myself I'd visit soon. I sent a check. Another practical gesture. Another empty box. The calls became less frequent. From every Sunday to every other Sunday. Then once a month. Then just on holidays. Birthdays. I'd talk to them. And the silence between our words grew longer and longer. I didn't know what to say. They had their own lives, their own worlds. Worlds I had never been a part of. I had never asked to be. I thought my job was done. I had provided. I had launched them into the world. Now it was their turn. I didn't realize that a father's job is never done. It just changes. Martha passed away 3 years ago. That was when the silence became unbearable. At the funeral, my children were there. They were kind, they were proper. They held my arm. They said all the right things, but they felt distant, like two polite adults taking care of an elderly relative. After the funeral, they helped me sort through Martha's things. Then they had to get back to their lives. David said, "Call if you need anything, Dad." Sarah said, "We'll talk soon." They called the next week, and the week after that, but then the calls stopped, all at once. A month went by, 2 months. I'd stare at the phone, willing it to ring. I'd pick it up to make sure it was working. It always was. The silence was not a mistake. It was a choice. Their choice. A choice I had taught them to make. For the first year, I was angry. I was hurt. How could they abandon their old father? After everything I did for them? I gave them everything. But then, one lonely afternoon, sitting in this very chair, I looked around the empty house, and I finally understood. I hadn't given them everything. I had given them things, a house, food, clothes, college money. But I had never given them myself. I had never given them my time, my attention, my heart. Why would they call a man they barely knew? Why would they share their lives with a father who had never shared his? They weren't abandoning me. They were just continuing the relationship I had established, a distant one based on duty, not connection. I had been a provider, a manager, a bank, but I had never truly been a dad. And now, at 84, I am just an old man who is reaping the harvest he sowed. A harvest of silence. I wish I could go back. I wish I could sit on the floor with that 7-year-old boy and ask him about his drawing. I wish I could have stopped reading the newspaper and watched my daughter sing her song. I wish I had gone to that one game. It seems so simple now, so small. But those small moments, they weren't small at all. They were everything. They were the threads that weave a family together, and I let every single one of them slip through my fingers. So if you are a young parent and you're listening to this old man, please, I beg you, don't make my mistake. Don't think that your paycheck is a substitute for your presence. Your children don't need a hero who works all the time. They need a father. They need a mother. They need you. The messy, tired, and perfect you. They need you to listen to their stories, to watch their silly shows, to be there. Because one day you will be sitting in a quiet house, and the only thing you will want, the only thing you will pray for, is the sound of their voice on the phone. And you will realize that you can't buy back time. Once it's gone forever. This silence is the price I've paid for a lifetime of choosing work over wonder, a lifetime of being a provider, but not a parent. It's a heavy price, and I'll be paying it until my very last day. If my story has made you think, perhaps you'll consider watching another. There are more stories here, more lessons learned too late. Maybe they can help you in a way I can no longer help my own family. Thank you for listening to me.